Kira Phillips reporting.
On Tuesday morning, October 9th, a noose is discovered hanging on the door of a black professor here at Columbia University in New York City. Word spreads. Protesters take to the streets. No more nooses! No more nooses! An investigation begins, and the media shines the spotlight. Versions of this have happened dozens of times over the past few months, which has us asking, how do you investigate hate?
There was a noose found in the men's locker room of the Hempstead Police Department.
On September 28th, Corey Pegues, the president of a black law enforcement group, became enraged after learning about a noose hanging in this small Hempstead, New York police station. He immediately let the local press know.
Just look at this and what this represents. When I hold this up, when I see this, I think of my ancestors hanging off trees. We're appalled that in 2007, someone has the audacity to put a noose in a police department where people are sworn to protect and serve.
There was no
Hempstead Deputy Police Chief Willie Dixon believes he was the target of someone's hate and ignorance.
A noose, in my mind, represents one of the darkest periods in this country's history. And it wasn't enough to lynch an African American. You would castrate him to add insult to injury. And after the lifeless body was hanging from a tree, he would then set that individual on fire.
The event set off a whirlwind of activity for Dixon's boss, Chief Joe Wing.
Within 24 hours, I spoke to a member of the FBI. In the pursuing days and weeks, I had to deal with media relations, and very important, I had to deal with the morale of the officers, the morale of the department, because this is one act, and I believe it was one individual, but it has such an adverse impact on all of the officers.
Now that the initial frenzy has died down, the investigation proceeds beneath the radar of the media. A process Detective Sergeant Gary Shapiro of the nearby Nassau County Police Department knows well. He's not involved in the Hempstead case, but he's investigated hate crimes for 12 years.
What I have here are some photos from a synagogue which was damaged on the North Shore of Nassau County. There was some anti-Semitic graffiti at this synagogue. There were swastikas and some derogatory words, and based on the fact that certain symbolism was used, this was considered a hate crime.
2 young men have been arrested for that crime.
Symbolism is a very powerful thing, whether you're dealing with a swastika or a noose or KKK in graffiti. Somebody painted the Klan standing around a figure that's hung from a hangman's noose. These are years and years worth of compilation. What was the motivation? Why was it done? We take it very seriously up here, and you know, we do the best we can with it.
It's a hate crime when a person or his property is targeted because of race, religion, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. For example,
if during the investigation it's found the attack occurred because of an argument over a parking spot, but derogatory language was used, that is not a hate crime. But during the investigation, if it's found that during the course of that argument, one assaulted the other because of a dislike for that particular, or a hate for that particular person or their group, and that's why they assaulted them, then that is a hate crime.
There are federal hate crime statutes, and nearly every state has its own hate crime laws. New York's law was recently changed, so it's now a felony to put a swastika on someone's property or to burn a cross in public view. Nooses were not added.
More graffiti and damage to the windows was found along this wall right here.
On the day we met Detective Shapiro, 2 nooses were found in his jurisdiction. One of them, a doll with black tar on its face. Shapiro believes that noose hangings will eventually be included in New York hate crime law, and Corey Pegues is working hard to make that happen sooner rather than later.
We want federal legislation. The hanging of a noose should be a hate crime. Just look at this picture. Imagine this around my neck. This is not a game. This is serious. We're talking about human lives. We don't take this as a joke. And we want it to stop across America. Now.
Are all talk.
When we return, Hal Turner doesn't see the noose as a joke either. He says it's an important symbol of white justice.
Danielsville, Georgia, April 28, 1936. In an effort to protect accused rapist Lynch Shaw from an angry white mob, the National Guard was called to escort him to Atlanta. Shaw had slipped the noose, but only briefly. 1 week later, his body was found swinging from a pine tree in a creek bed. Lynch Shaw was the 468th African American lynched in Georgia.